Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a massive mystery right here in the US. We are looking at one of the absolute oldest European origin settlements in the entire country. It's a neighborhood in Santa Fe, New Mexico, known as the Barrio de Analco. But, as we're going to see, the story of this specific piece of land goes back way, way further than the arrival of the Europeans. And honestly, uncovering its secrets is no easy task.
To give you an idea of what we're dealing with, archaeologist Stephen Post actually described the ground here as, well, basically like mixing a layer cake in a blender and then spreading the result across the land. It's a great visual, right? Imagine history as this beautifully neat stacked layer cake, where every generation is a different flavor. Now, toss that whole cake in a blender and just pour it out. That is the ground beneath the Barrio de Analco. Because people have lived there continuously for so long, the physical traces of their lives have just been churned up, built over, and entirely mixed together over the centuries.
And you have to think about the sheer diversity of the people who actually baked that layer cake. We're talking about 900 years of inhabitants. You've got ancestral Puebloan, Hispano, Mestizo, Indio, Genízaro, and Anglo peoples all leaving their mark. Literally 9 centuries of overlapping lives. When you have that many different cultures settling, building, and just existing on the exact same landscape for nearly a millennium, you can absolutely see why the archaeological record isn't just a straight line. It's a hugely complex, blended puzzle. You can actually see this deep, dual identity in the names themselves. On one hand, you have Oca Polage, which is the name known to modern Pueblo people, and on the other, El Barrio de Analco, the name used by Santa Fe's non-indigenous residents. This single piece of land holds profound, heavy meaning for completely different groups of people. It reflects a vibrant life that existed both long before and long after European contact.
Now, that word, Anaco, it's actually a Nahuatl word, meaning it was brought all the way over from Mexico, since Nahuatl was the language of the Aztecs and the surrounding indigenous groups. It translates beautifully and literally to the other side of the water. And as you'll realize in just a second, that is a perfectly functional, spot-on description of the neighborhood's geography.
Because if we look at how the geography played out, you had the official Plaza area situated on the north side of the Rio de Santa Fe, and then you had the Barrio de Analco situated over on the south side. The river acted as this natural dividing line, physically separating the main administrative plaza from this distinct, entirely separate neighborhood on, well, the other side of the water.
Part 1. The 1600s Settlement, a New Era. So, back in the 1600s, who actually settled this new European-era neighborhood? It was originally populated by Tlaxcalan Indian servants. They made this incredibly long, arduous trek all the way up from Mexico. And that right there perfectly explains the mystery of the Nahuatl name we just talked about. The Tlaxcalans literally brought their native language with them to name their brand new home.
But they definitely didn't make that massive trip alone. They arrived alongside Franciscan missionaries and Spanish colonial officials. This specific, unique mix of people, the Tlaxcalan servants, the religious figures, the officials, really cemented the barrio's unique status. It wasn't just a spillover area, it was a historic, functioning settlement in its own right, and highly distinct from the bustling commercial hub of the main plaza across the river.
Right in the absolute center of this new district, they built the San Miguel Chapel. This mission church went up pretty soon after the 1600s settlement began, and it served as both the spiritual and the physical heart of the barrio. Amazingly, it's an enduring landmark. It actually managed to survive those centuries of jumbled history and continuous rebuilding that we mentioned at the very start of our explainer.
Part 2. Traces of the Past, the Urban Archaeology Challenge.
Now, digging up history in the middle of a modern built-up city, it's incredibly tricky. Most of the archaeological work around here actually comes from city-mandated studies, basically checking the ground before a modern construction project breaks ground. And while those are well-intended, they're often just insufficient in scope. They simply don't dig deep or wide enough into that blended layer cake. But a few truly exceptional, highly focused studies, those are the ones actually yielding substantive, game-changing new information.
So the crucial takeaway here is that when we do get those rare, exceptional digs, the results are incredible. The Boyle House excavations, located over at 327 East de Vargas Street, are a perfect example of this. This is exactly the kind of focused, site-specific research that finally cuts right through the noise, bypasses the blender effect, and offers us a much clearer window into the past.
And what do these successful digs actually unlock for us? Well, they give us the human element. They reveal the everyday customs, the personal relationships, and the true identities of the people who live there. Instead of just rattling off dates or names of old officials, these fleeting but absolutely vital glimpses let us understand the daily lives of the ancestral Puebloans, the Tlaxcalans, the Hispanos, and everyone else who called the barrio home. Just imagine unearthing a 17th century Spanish coin resting right next to an ancestral Puebloan potsherd. That is the blender effect of this historical layer cake brought to life.
900. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. That is the sheer scale of continuous human history layered right beneath this single neighborhood. It's almost unfathomable, really, to think about 900 years of footsteps, meals, conversations, and lives, all happening on the exact same plot of Earth.
If you ever want to feel a tangible connection to this history for yourself, you can actually visit the spot today. The historic plaque commemorating the Barrio de Analco is located right on the corner of East de Vargas Street and Old Santa Fe Trail. It's this quiet, unassuming marker of the incredibly deep, blended history standing right beneath the feet of modern pedestrians.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question. What hidden histories are buried under the streets you walk every single day? If just one neighborhood in Santa Fe holds a 900-year-old layer cake of human history, just imagine what incredible, totally unrecorded stories might be resting quietly beneath your own hometown, just waiting to be unearthed. Keep that in mind the next time you take a walk. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.